Niall McGrath for offtheball.com at UFC London, alongside the Irish Dragon, UFC colour commentator, and what, number 9 ranked? Number 10 ranked lightweight in the world, Mr. Paul Felder, coming off a victory against Mr. James Vick and a long hospital stint, which, you know, I found incredible. I do have to say, you know, you did the media obligations after the fight, you did a post-fight interview, and then you went to hospital and you realised you had a broken rib.
No.
Oh, okay, I'll let you explain it.
A collapsed lung due to a bubble that had formed on my lung, so that when my rib cage compressed, it hit the bubble, that popped, that collapsed my lung. It was just a freak, weird situation. No broken ribs, though.
And the fight before that, Paul, you you broke your arm in the first round with a spinning back fist and fought on 3 rounds. And you lost a split decision to Mike Perry, stepping up a weight class to 170 pounds. There's a bit of resolve there, Paul.
Yeah, you know, I'm becoming... It's funny to watch the social media posts about all this shit, you know, after the fact, and seeing people talk about being the toughest SOB and all this, and it's... I don't even look at it like that, man. It's just I'm in there, I'm fighting, I'm doing what I do. I don't know if I'm less susceptible to pain in the moment when my adrenaline's kicking or what it is, but for me, it's just living in the moment and fighting. I mean, there's another guy in there trying to kick my ass, and I'm trying to get there first. That's all it is to me. It's just, I didn't even know something was wrong until we got the scans. It was just, it felt like I thought I had a cracked rib. That was it. And then...
It was a whole week in hospital, though, and you had to get, you know, the lung sewn up internally.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just a nightmare. Obviously, you were in, you know, Phoenix, things like that. Because I don't think a lot of people understand, you know, that side of the game as well. You sacrifice so much going into the fight, and then you have to deal with a whole week in hospital, the cravings as well, obviously the weight cut. That's a massive issue.
Yeah, I mean, I go from camp in Milwaukee, where I'm there for, well, I was there for 2 weeks. Then the fight got pushed back to February in Phoenix. So I went home for a couple of weeks, spent home, you know, Christmas with the family, and did that whole thing. Then I'm back in camp for 6.5 weeks, in Phoenix for a few days, fight, win. I'm on a high, and then the next thing I know, it's 7 straight days in the hospital with tubes sticking out of my chest and different suction things. It's just every day they kept telling me, okay, today's the day you're getting out. Today's the day you're getting out, and one day led to 7 days.
You're ranked number 10, obviously, now in the UFC lightweight division. You know, killer's row. I think, you know, for a long, long time, many years, the purest, the hardest mixed martial arts fans will tell you this is, you know, killer's row. It's the best division in mixed martial arts. Always sort of has been steadily. There's guys come through with that weight class that can obviously translate, you know, their weight and power into that division. What is next for you? Because you obviously called it Edson Barbosa, a guy you used to train with. You obviously fought as well. You lost that fight, then you started training with him. But for me, you know, knowing you and having talked to you for a long, long time, he's fighting Justin Gaethje pretty soon. You're going to be commentating on it as well, as far as I'm aware. But you seem to really, really, really want that Edson Barbosa fight. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I just want any of those losses. I mean, if Ross was on a streak and he was killing it, I'd want the Pearson fight back. If Trinaldo was on a streak and he was killing it, I would want that fight back. So it has nothing to do with these fighters personally. It has nothing to do with liking or disliking Edson, but the guy's got a win over me. He's ranked above me. He's in front of the title, which means more money and more success for me and my family. So that's what it is at the end of the day. And that's, I guarantee that's how he thinks too. We're friends. I have nothing against him. I would hang out and talk to Edson right now, but if he wins next month or this month, later this month in Philly, I want to fight him. If Gaethje wins, I want to fight him. If I have to fight the loser, I'll fight the loser. I don't really care. Either way, that person is going to have a number higher or lower than mine, closer to the title, and that's what I want.
But interesting with the Edson thing, you obviously fought first, then trained up in Mark's gym. Obviously, Mark, a really, really good coach, you know, very high technical boxing coach. Was there always that sort of edge you felt in the sparring after the fight, that because you've once actually been in there fishing the octagon, that that you're always chomping at the bit basically to get one back on him?
Yeah, what that proved to me really was that training is training and fighting is fighting, because we would have some good battles in the gym too, but they were always very controlled, and I feel like we had a lot of respect for each other, whereas our fight was kind of all over the place and crazy. And yeah, and I've always felt like I was a sparring partner in that situation.
Okay.
In
that gym or that situation?
Yeah, in all of it. And that's one of the reasons I had to seek something else to get more attention, to figure out where somebody was going to kind of really guide me, because Mark was obviously coaching Edson in that situation. I was working with Nick Catone as well, and he always did a fantastic job, and he's still my guy to this day. I have nothing but love for Nick Catone. But with Mark Henry and Edson, it was always him coaching Edson to fight me, just like the fight. So that's why that never really worked out in my favor.
Did you not feel accepted there?
It wasn't even that I got accepted. It's just that Mark never had any time on his plate for me. And that's what I wanted. I wanted to work with Mark. I wanted to work with Nick for wrestling and MMA, but I wanted that whole package. And that was one of the reasons I sought New Jersey, started traveling all that time that I was doing. And it never really worked out, and it's nothing against any of those guys. Their plate was full. So that's why I think we've always been cool with me leaving and finding something else, because they knew it. It was like, look, yeah, he already had Frankie, he had Edson, he had Eddie, he's got Marlon. It's like he's got all these UFC roster guys to work with. He never really was going to have the time to focus on me. So that's ultimately why I left that Mark Henry and Nick and those guys.
And obviously you found home with Duke and Duke Rufus and Rufus Sports in Milwaukee. That is your home now. You've talked about, obviously, your relationship with Andy Pattis, going through the roof. You guys in Brooklyn, we saw that. I think that's where it really sort of came together with you guys in Brooklyn, was when you both missed out in a fight, probably because of Conor McGregor's actions, if we're honest about it. But
100%.
That was the key moment, I think, where you were looking around for a while and you finally found a home in Rufus Sport.
Yeah, I mean, I was on that 3-fight win streak at lightweight, going into that Iaquinta fight where it didn't pan out, but as soon as I got to that gym, I knew that was going to be one of my places to train forever and have a great relationship with those guys. And since then, too, I've also kind of rekindled a fire with Daniel Gracie and Coach John at EEFC back home in Philly. I've been working my boxing with him and Daniel with jiu-jitsu. So now I feel even stronger, feel more confidence, because when I'm home, I have a training camp. I'm training with Daniel. I'm training at Renzo Gracie Philly, Jonathan Webb, Sean Brady, all those guys back home. And then I do my last 6 weeks at Duke's, and it's just been a perfect match, man.
Yeah, we know what Duke has obviously added to, he's working with a little bit Ben Askren as well, obviously T. Wood. Things like, I want to get your analysis and maybe thoughts on Tyron's performance. You've worked with Tyron. I found his performance incredibly flat, like there was something actually wrong physically with him against Kamaru Usman. You've worked with him. He's obviously the former welterweight champion after 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Your thoughts on that performance, knowing Duke, knowing the guys being from the camp, work with Tyron Woodley?
Yeah, man, it's just, I think it's one of those things where just one guy was on and the other guy was having a bad night, and you can't take anything away from him.
Was there anything physically wrong?
No, not that I know of. No injuries or major problems that I know of. But Tyron's also the type of dude where he wouldn't let anybody know that. He keep that to himself. But I know Usman. I've known him for a while now too, and we've actually had quite a few conversations over the years. That dude is dedicated, man. I knew it was going to be a tough match no matter what, but he showed up and showed out and got the W. And I think Tyron would say the same thing. Just he's going to go back to the drawing board, and I think he'll come back hungrier than ever because of it. I think this is going to be a good thing for him, actually.
A couple more, Paul. I don't want to keep you too long, but you obviously had that fight against Mike Perry at 170 pounds. In terms of weight, obviously, it's a lot easier for you to make 170 pounds. 155 is a bigger cut. Considering the arm break and putting that all to context in the first round, you went on to lose a split decision, which is incredibly admirable under the situation that you actually had a clean break in your arm and fought on 2 extra rounds. Going forward, You know, what is the division for you? Do you feel, though, maybe you have a little bit more at 170 pounds?
Maybe towards the end when I might fight for the glory of it or for the fun of it as opposed to fighting to be the champion. I think if I'm fighting to be the champion, which is what I'm doing right now, it's going to be at 155 pounds. I feel like I've figured things out over the years and trial and error and bad weight cuts, good weight cuts. You start figuring out what works best for you, and I think I've got that down. I think especially this last camp, the little adjustments that I made, hiring somebody to cook for my meals, deliver them so that I'm not adding extra chicken or extra peanut butter to things. They're already prepped. What's there is there. If I eat that, I should be losing weight. So I feel like that was a big addition to this fight camp. So shout out to Nick for cooking those meals in Milwaukee.
Nick, well done. I have to ask you, right, and I feel this way at the light division. It's a very frustrating division in certain ways because you've a lot of fighters that are sort of tied up. You know, they're out. You know, we've Habib, he doesn't want to fight in November, doesn't want to fight in Nevada again. You've McGregor, we never know what's happening with Conor. You've Tony Ferguson now, who, in my opinion, the only one that has a rightful right to maybe sit out and wait for a title. Yeah. There's the top 3 or 4 guys. Nate Diaz, you never know what's going on with Nate. You have, obviously, Edson Barbosa and Justin Gaethje booked. You're number 9.
10.
10, right?
But I appreciate it.
But
soon to be number 9 or higher.
But that must become frustrating where you're going to make a decision to go after someone or make a move on someone in order to further your career, because you obviously want to look ahead, and there's not that many options really from 1 to 5 or 6. Do you have to go after someone maybe in the 1 to 6 range in order to get yourself a fight?
Yeah, we're going to have to definitely do a lot of waiting and seeing who wins, what happens. Maybe fight below, maybe try to fight higher than I even should. Eventually somebody's going to have to fight, right? These guys hold these rankings for so long. Something's got to give. People have to fight. And I've always been an advocate of saying, you can't always fight above your ranking. Sometimes you got to fight below. So if I don't get what I want, and
but for you, that's not the case now. It can't be, because you're, as far as I would be concerned, you want to look forward and go on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, of course, that's what I want, right? But I'm saying if for some reason those guys dodge me or the UFC doesn't book it, I'll be one of those guys that will have to fight. I'll fight, I'll wait as long as I can, but eventually I'm going to have to fight. But I mean, I already beat. It was Oliveira. I already fought Trinaldo. I think those guys are in the bottom of the rankings. I've heard rumors of Gregor might have a fight. I don't know what's going on with Kevin Lee. I heard they were going to fight. Now it looks like they're not going to fight. So I think the next few months are really going to lay out the map for what's going to happen at 155 for the next year.
There's talks, obviously, of Cowboy and Conor. I know you're close to Cowboy, but if that was ever a proposition, would that be a possibility that you and Cowboy could potentially throw down?
There's always the potential with Cowboy and anybody throwing down.
Of course, I think.
But so the way that I've always said I was going to handle that is that it's no, I don't want to fight him until he calls me and says, listen, motherfucker, we're fighting. We need to fight. It's going to happen. If that happens, then I'll take the fight. If Cowboy calls me and says, we have to fight, then I'll do it. But until then, it's not something I want to do. I'm not fighting Anthony Pettis because I still boys with him and training with him. Obviously, I'm not training.
But that's shortening it down again.
And I know, exactly. So there's Pettis, there's Cowboy, who I'm trying my absolute best, and we don't want to fight each other. As far as I know right now, as long as we're still cool, Cowboy will let me know. I'm sure he's not shy about anything. So yeah, and then you got the top guys who don't fight anybody. And you got that's what's left me at Gaethje and Edson. I'm like, I think that's the most realistic option for at least one of those guys. Somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. I'm willing to take either one. I would prefer the winner so I can be only a few fights away from that title. I'm trying to fast track myself, man. Right? Who isn't?
What a division, but I agree with you. It is getting a bit frustrating the way it's a bit of a logjam at the top. No guys getting matched up, but
Yeah, it's
like from a spectator's point of view, a media point of view, you know, a fan's point of view, I think people would obviously watch the Cowboy fight or you know, Edson again. It would be an absolutely phenomenal fight. But if you had to have one name, give me one. Like, there's so many names in that division. Tony Ferguson, McGregor, I don't know. You tell me.
I mean, if I got, you know, ultimately, if I can try to skip all the lines, I would love a fight with Tony Ferguson. But what were we saying? Tony's ranked 1 or 2 right now?
1 or 2, I think, yeah.
So,
why Tony?
well, I just think he's insane like I am. I think he's another guy that brings it. Same reason I want the Justin Gaethje fight. It's because there's some, once you've been in this sport for a while, you start getting, I don't want to say turned on, but you get turned on by the fact that what's going to get me out of bed in the morning? What's going to make me push myself to the limits in this training camp? If you're fighting a guy, he might be the best fighter in the world, but nothing scares you about him or nothing's dangerous about it. Why am I training as hard as I possibly can? When I'm scared of somebody, when I fear an opponent, that's what pushes me to the limit, and that's what I've always sought was the most dangerous opponents. And if you look at my career, it's all I've ever done, minus maybe a couple people. But even those people that weren't well known were dangerous in their regard. You know, the Jason Sagos, the Alessandro Ricci's, they were dangerous fighters, just not well known fighters.
I'll tell you what, that's a fight I'd love to see, and I think I said it to you on, but yeah, I would love to see Tony Ferguson and Paul Felder. I think it's stylistic.
I want any of them.
Well, listen, a lot of guys in you are a good matchup. It is, but I do agree with you in terms of that would be an absolutely smashing fight. But listen, Paul.
Elbow. We'll have an elbow war. We'll see who's better at elbows. He likes the elbow. I like the elbow.
I'm down for 2 weird guys as well. I'm joking. But anyway, listen, Paul, big fight this weekend as well. Darren Till, Jorge Masvidal. You're
excited.
the UFC analyst.
Yeah.
Who gets the job done? It's a huge, huge fight.
Well, I can't say that. I can't say who I think is going to get it done. But I'm very curious, as most people I think watching it, is the style. You know, they have very different boxing styles. They both throw hands with power, but Masvidal's got a much more traditional boxing style, whereas Darren Till's got that longer, you know, I almost call it the European style. You see it in McGregor, you see it in Till. It's almost like traditional martial arts meets boxing when I see some of these really good European kickboxers. So I don't know. I love it, but I really do love that match. I love the.
Stop sitting on the fence, Paul.
I can't pick. I literally can't. No, I'm saying I can't. Like, as a UFC color commentator, I can't tell you who I think is going to win.
What? That's a terrible rule. Darren Till for me, but it's going to be a very, very good fight. Paul Felder, it's always a pleasure to speak to you. I do appreciate the time. And hopefully you'll get back over to Ireland someday.
I would love to come back over. Maybe we can come back to Ireland and drink Guinness instead of San Miguel's instead.
No problem. Niall McGrath for offtheball.com in London. Fucking brilliant, man. That was awesome. That's the best interview we've ever done.
Oh, man, all you got to do is have 5 or 6 pints.
Yeah.